Hey, it's going to be worth your time, worth your while being here tonight. You agree with that? Man, how many of you guys tonight, you'll make just a conscious effort to get all of God you can? And I'll tell you, it's going to be a little different because I read something recently and I thought, man, I need to figure out how to preach that. And so I just thought, I'm just going to go, the notes that I took after I read it, I'm just going to go back. Let's welcome everybody watching online first. You guys want to? Everybody online? I'm just going to lay it out because it really resonates in our hearts, okay, this message tonight. And the title of it is, There's a Place for You. Man, God, and it's just this. It's John 14, the 14th chapter. And let's just ask God's blessing upon his word tonight because I'll tell you, it's life to those who find it. Man, you're going to find something tonight. It's going to change something in your life. It's going to dial something in. God, I thank you for your word and the pains it took to get your word to us tonight in 2019. And we're not leaving here the way we came in Jesus' name. And everybody said? Amen. Jesus said, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. But listen, that he's alive today. I mean, he lives big in us. He said, in my Father's house, there's many mansions. If it weren't so, I would have told you. And he said, I go to prepare a place for you. See, that's pivotal. That's huge right there. Man, God's got a place for you. And I'll tell you, I believe that you could take that literally, that Jesus said, here's how you pray. Our Father who's art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will is done on earth as it is in heaven. And he said, I go to prepare a place for you. I'll tell you, most of the time I think about that in the great by and by. I think about that later on in heaven, you know, that, man, God, there's mansions that God's got a bed. But I'll tell you, it's alive today on the earth. So God's got a place for you. You believe in God for a house, God's got a place for you. Man, you believe in God for a position, God's got a place for you. See, but it all starts, everything starts with purpose. Everything starts with purpose. If you're believing God for property, here's how the priority list is. It goes from purpose to people to programs, and what that relates to is us being discipled in God's word and as Christians, and then to property. Property's fourth. Man, I was walking through the youth services over there before they even started. I'm telling you, hundreds of kids here. Man, I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're back in the game. I mean, this has got to be a place for us to reach, man, people in their 20s and 30s. We're going to be great at reaching teenagers. We really do. That's how the translation works. And I've learned that over 30 years in ministry. And the idea of this now is for us to speak to this culture, we've got to be able to speak to those teenagers. And that building across the street, that honestly, your ties go to just the whole organization of it and the everything that's going on over there. Man, you're taking care of that for them. And I'm so appreciative. I know God's so appreciative as well. But God's got a place for us. And we have to understand that. And he said, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I'll come again and receive you. All right? Meaning I'm going to resource you. I'm going to make sure that everything that you're about, he said, because where I am, you are also. And that's a place of authority. Okay? 3 quick points. We have access to the Father's house. He has a place for you. And we're operating under Jesus' authority. See, when we speak, we could speak to any kind of authority on the planet. Whether it's, no matter what type of spiritual authority it might be, what kind of moral authority it might be, what kind of, whatever national authority, we speak in the name of Jesus. That's the authority that God's given us. You know, I read this thing, and it's interesting because Coca-Cola started, you guys have all heard of Coca-Cola. And Coke started in the mid to late 1800s, the 19th century. And at about the turn of the century, I think 1901, some men, and it was in Atlanta, some men from Tennessee came down and met with these guys in Atlanta because they had heard about this beverage, this soft drink. And what that soft drink it was a fountain drink at the time. You know, most drugstores and pop stands and stuff, it was fountain drinks. And these guys came down in 1901 from Tennessee and said, what if we bottled it? What if we put it in glass bottles? And they made a deal. Listen, for $1, for $1 to bottle Coca-Cola. And now there's like 70 bottling plants all over the country. But one of them, the oldest one that is in Atlanta, it's called Coke Consolidated. And they're just one of the bottlers. But what's amazing about this is that they have a statement of purpose. And it's Coca-Cola. And the first thing in the statement of purpose is to honor God in everything we do. And when I read that, I thought, wait a second. I mean, that's amazing that we honor God in everything we do. Why? Because I'm going to stand before God, and this is what the CEO of Coke Consolidated said. He said, because I'm going to stand before God. Now listen, for my life and my business. And I thought about that. I 100% agree with that. That you guys in here that own businesses, that run businesses, that have businesses, you're going to stand before God for your business. And it's interesting because you'll say, well, wait a second. Scheer, give me some scriptural background. What about the parable of the talents? The parable of talents where the master was leaving town and he went to 3 of his servants, and to one he gave 5, to one he gave 2, to one he gave 1. A talent is the highest measurement of currency that there was in that day. And to each one he gave talents, 1 5, 1 2, and 1 1. And you all know the story that the one with 5 doubled it, the one with 2 doubled it. He said, well done, good and faithful servant, enter into the joy of the Lord. The third one took that single talent and he buried it. He said, because I was afraid because I knew you to be a hard man. And it's interesting because I think that's how most people live their lives. Most people live their lives, maybe not as hoarders. You know, it's interesting because Sandy just like drew a line and said, Bill, you gotta go to your closet. It's crazy, the stuff that you have in your closet. And I'm like, no, it's perfect. I know where everything is. She said, you wear like 5 things. I broke out something fresh tonight, just so you know. I know this is way colorful for you guys. It's not blue or gray, black or denim. And but it's tasteful, I believe. I don't know, I'm a little self-conscious in it now. And so the first thing I did, and this is a big mistake. Any fellas in the room? Any fellas that have boots? Let me see your hands. Okay, when your wife says you got to purge your closet, don't start with the boots. All right? So I started pulling out boots, cowboy boots, riding boots, hiking. Well, they're not really hiking boots. I don't really hike. But I had like 17 pairs of boots, and she said, Bill, how many pairs of boots does a guy need? I'm like, that's not even a, who would even ask a question like that? That makes no sense. She goes, okay, pick 5. You know what she said? I think he started with 3. Pick 3 pair, and then I think I went to 5. She goes, pick 5 pair and get rid of the rest. I'm like, no. So now in my garage, I've got boots hidden in my garage, behind sleeping bags, in the attic, and I'm stuffed everywhere I could. But the point is something. I'm gonna stand before God on those boots. I don't know. Disregard that whole story. What would I have been talking about, Sandy? People are laughing at me. I'm hanging up here. Purging, hoarding. I am not a hoarder. I've met hoarders. I thought of something really funny about my Granny Lila, but R.I.P. R.I.P. Granny Lila. But yeah, we're not hoarders, okay? So don't write that down. That's not a point, and I don't even know where I was going there. But I'm going to stand before God on my business, what I'm putting my hand to, because that guy that hoarded that talent. See, I'm remembering where I'm going. The guy that hoarded that talent. The people. There's no one left online. They're like, okay, we're moving on. This guy's jacked. I have never heard Stephen Furtick jack up a story as bad as he did. He's that little pastor from North Carolina, if you guys don't know about him. But yeah, you got to. Okay, number two, you got to serve others. That's what the CEO of Coke Consolidated wrote. He said, number one, you got to honor God in everything you do. Number two, you got to serve others. Listen, this is Coca-Cola bottling. It's just amazing. And when I think about serving others, there's concentric circles in my life, okay? In the church, there's concentric circles. It starts with the core people in our church. Those are people that aren't just attending, okay? They're participating in everything. If a song comes up that they're singing, man, they're robustly singing it, whether they like the style of it or not. They're just. I'm bought in. I'm all in. I'm gonna greet at the door. I heard about all those teenagers are gonna be over there, so maybe I'm gonna go over there after the service tonight, and I'm gonna help clean up that building after those hundreds of teenagers that are over across the street. That's the core, and then outside that concentric circle is another one, and it's the committed. Man, it's people that, man, I tithe, and this is my church, and I'm here every time the doors come open, and, man, you can count on me. And then there's the congregation, and that's people that, man, Guts is my church, and, man, I love the leadership. I love that pastor. Man, my life was changed there. And then there's the crowd, and the crowd is people that have visited a couple times and are considering coming, and we're on their radar, maybe watching online. But then there's the community, and that's the people that we want to reach. You know, we were, Sandy and I were with Taylor today, and the local church, the church downtown church that's a Guts Church plant is moving to the Broadway or the boardwalk, or it's a building right there on Elgin, and you can't miss it. Cannot miss it, but they're moving from the Mayo, and next week they go over there, and I'm looking around, I walk around, it's like, okay, and here's what hits me. It's why we bought this property right here. We bought this property because really, I don't know if anybody could figure out how to do church on this property. But you know what? I stood at the front porch, and I just stood there for a few minutes, and I just looked around. I'm watching cars go by. I'm watching people go through. I'm watching people cut through our parking lot to avoid the stop sign and to get on the highway. And I thought, you know what? We can change the world from here. And that's all that matters to me. You know, the style of building and what the way things are, it doesn't matter. But the place that God's given us, we can change the world from here. Man, it's how we raise our family is that, man, we can raise a family from here. See, those are the big keys, and that we serve. But the second condition in their purpose statement was that to serve others, to make sure that there's those concentric circles. My personal concentric circle would start with Sandy. She's that inside circle. She's that core circle. You know, and then it would go to my kids, and it would go to my friends, and it would go to people in church, it would go to our staff, and it'd go to elders, it would go to people that we're in covenant with. It goes to, and then at some point, everyone in this room is in one of those circles. And it's kind of layers of service, and we're gonna make sure if, you know, the idea of and what continually hits me, it hit me today. Because, man, God's doing something in my life right now. I'll just tell you. Man, my prayer life and also there's a tremendous emotional and stress and anxiety, just waves of it that are hitting. And I'm like, this is interesting. God's doing something where, man, I'm praying for people. And I was praying for a pastor, big church, just yesterday afternoon, he called me and said, I've got an opportunity to buy this building. And I'm just believing God. And I said, it's amazing because I was praying for you this morning. There's another pastor from St. Louis that I was praying for, and he called me. And it's interesting. It's just, so I know God's doing something, but then there's these other things that are happening and things that are hitting. And it's like, but judgment starts in the house of God. You should write that down. That's what the Bible says. Judgment starts in the house of God. And I take that literally, that judgment starts in my house. Judgment starts in my church. I'm not about to judge city government or national government or state government because it starts in my house. It starts in my church. And so we have to understand, we've got to serve others. Number 3, we've got to pursue excellence. This is huge. There's something I'm always looking for. There's people in this room that I'm in close relationship with. And I'm telling you, every single one of those people are people that are looking out for the last 5%. Not the next 5%, not an added 5%, that last 5%. That last bit where, man, they're not decelerating at the end of that race. They're giving everything they've got for the last 5% of that race to push through that finish line. But that last 5%, that if we're doing church at 95%, man, let me just tell you, for most people that's good enough, except for the people in their life that are pursuing excellence. Man, if you're here and you've got a business, man, the people, if you're here and you're a salesperson or if you're tending to the last 5%, man, there's some people, and I think his name's Mark Campbell that comes to the church here. He's got a business called Pride Electric. And I'll tell you, there's not many contractors out there that are like that. Man, they do the work, and then you know what? They bring in these mini vacuums and they clean up. And then and it's interesting because, man, there were some leaves at the bottom of a shrub in my front yard. And as they went out, this guy got on a knee and he cleaned out the leaves in front. Listen, these are people that are just pursuing excellence in their life and in their job, and the way you do anything is the way you do everything. But focusing on, man, thinking, I got to get to that last 5%. If church is at 95%, it needs me. See, there's so many people just that you come into church and you go, man, I'll do anything. Well, the last 5% may be that at Walmart or at the Love's truck stop, you go into the restroom and there's a plastic holder that a sheet of paper's in, and it's a schedule of cleaning of that bathroom. And it's got somebody's name and the time that he went through there. Let me tell you, whoever thought of that was thinking of the last 5%. It's even little things just like that. And see, but we've got to do our best every day. Everything we do, everything we put our hand to. Because the Bible promises everything we put our hand to will prosper, right? Right? Doesn't the Bible say, isn't that right, that everything we put our hand to will prosper? Well, if that's the case, I want to do my best. Man, I want to double what's in my hand. I want to double this church. And you know, it's interesting because I know that conventional wisdom will say, most people don't care about the church doubling. I get it. But you guys that are in here that have businesses, you guys in here that sell shoes, that sell household items, that sell automobiles, that sell motorcycles, whatever, let me tell you, you double your business, it's a big deal. People that are coming in and buying from you aren't necessarily caring that you're doubling your business. But let me just tell you, for you to double your business, that means they're probably going to come back and buy from you again. They're probably going to talk to their people and their friends and their family about the service that they got from you. Man, it may not be the lowest price, but it may be the best service. And see, we've got to understand that. So we have to have continual improvement, continuous improvement. And I believe we've got to be innovative. I think innovation in church, innovation as Christians is pivotal. Used to be you could go door to door. Used to be you could put a doorknob hanger on. Used to be you could send out a mailer. And you know what? All of that stuff still works for a part of the population. But let me just tell you, man, the new, fresh ministry guys are so innovative. And I believe in our life. I believe in our business. I believe as Christians, it's important for us to be innovative. I'm telling you, when I first became a Christian 40 years ago, almost every corporate prayer that a preacher would pray is he'd say, and God, thank you for witty inventions. How many of you guys ever heard prayers like that? Witty inventions. All that is just innovation. And you know what I'm going to say right now? I'm going to say over Mark Jackson, I'm going to say over everybody else in this room that 2019 and 2020 is going to be times of refreshing and innovation in your life. How to raise your kids, how to refresh your marriage, how to be who God's called you to be. I'm telling you, it's worth it that you came here tonight. And number 4 is we've got to grow. And in business, what theirs is that you grow profitably. We can't do the same thing we did in 2018 and 2019. We got any business people in here? We don't want to match what we did last year, do we? No, we want to exceed it. Matt, you want to exceed 2018. Man, I read this 20 years ago, in the Harvard Business Review, and it had this chart, and it said, healthy business, the graph looks like this, and there was a spike, a growth, and then there was a plateau. And then there was growth, and then there was a plateau. And then there was growth, and then there was a plateau. And you know what they called that plateau? They called that plateau crisis. You're not losing, you're just maintaining. And in business, 20 years ago, and I believe it's still true today, they call that crisis. I'm telling you, if this church stays the same, if it's not growing, I think last year we grew 18%. And it's funny because we'll say, well, are we growing? Well, here's what's amazing, is it's Wednesday night, it's Sunday morning, it's the pulpit, it's SkyTook. We're not even counting things online. Things are growing exponentially online within our church. We're not great at talking about that. But let me tell you, in order for us to grow, what we've got to do is we've got to understand that, and let me just tell you about the next 4 Sundays. Can I tell you about the next 4 Sundays that I am jazzed about? This next Sunday is our 5th Sunday. I coached the ORU rugby team, and after practice last night, one of those boys just said, hey, Pastor, how's church going? I'm like, his name's Canada. He's about this tall. And they call him Canada. I said, you from Canada? He goes, nope. I said, why do they call you Canada? He goes, because I'm really nice. So I guess, Barry, is that right? Canadians are nice people, I guess. But they call him Canada. Anyway, he comes up and he goes, hey, Pastor, how's church going? I mean, I'm just chewing these guys out about man, you got to hustle, man. You got to have intensity. You got to have energy. Man, you got to hit people. You got to, and then everything comes out. Just somebody goes, Pastor, how's church going? I said, it's going great. And you know what hit me? We got 5th Sunday coming up. You know what I did? I said, hey, you guys ever baptized anybody? Most of them said no. There's one guy we call F-bomb. I said, ORU student, he's going to be a poster child someday when he meets Jesus. But I said, F-bomb, you ever baptized anybody? He said, what? I said, you ever been baptized? He said, yeah. I'm like, I'm not so sure. I said, why don't you guys come at 10:30 and just help us baptize at 11 o'clock? So you know what, man, what we've got to do, I think what's important about our lives, your business lives, your spiritual life, our church life, is we've got to continually build our bench. Because the next thing you know, it's going to be next man up. I mean, you think right now, tonight, we had 5 bands on stage tonight. That required 5 of everybody that we had. There's music at the local church. I mean, you've got to have a deep bench to be able to do what we do. So you know what? In order to have a deep bench, you got to build that bench. So we've got to be growing. And in your business, you got to be growing profitably. I don't want to say I don't care about money and I don't care about a profit, because I have to be a steward of that. But I'll tell you what my heart beats for is souls. Is we grow in souls. And I think that's huge, that we have to be able to cultivate growth initiatives. We can't just do what we've always done. We're going to get what we've always gotten. I think we've got to have brand new, innovative growth initiatives. So, man, this Sunday's our 5th Sunday. We do it 4 times a year. We baptize people. We dedicate babies. Man, you could be in line at the Walmart. There's a mama that maybe God puts in your heart to buy her groceries or what she's in her basket. She's got a baby there. And you say, man, has your baby ever been dedicated to the Lord? And that mama's probably going to say no. You say, you know what, this Sunday at my church, we're dedicating babies. I'd like to host you at our service. I'd like to pay for your basket of groceries. See, this is how we do this. See, this is hand to hand. This is mouth to mouth. This is us. It's not just door hangers and mailers and mass emails. Man, it's us genuinely. The purpose of our lives is to grow in souls in who we are. Invite people to a church experience, and the best way to do it, a church experience that you're a part of. This is my church. I'm a part of this. Man, lives are changed here. You know, mission trips do this. Man, so many people go on few days, week, 2-week mission trips, and it changes how they live for a little while. And it makes you realize, too, how grateful you are for what you have. Most places I go preach, I'm very grateful for my church. The spiritual horsepower in this church. I was just in the central lobby with Juan Charles, who if you've never met Juan Charles, you're missing out. And Billy Stopp were out there, and Juan was just asking him, man, what's on your heart? What could we do here that we're not doing? And what Billy said was, man, prison ministry just rose up in me. I don't know how to do it. I don't know the best way to do it, but I don't know where to even start, but that just rose up in me when you asked me that, prison ministry. And I thought when they told me that story when I was over there, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to throw it out there. Is that in your heart? We don't want to restrict anybody. Man, I don't mind picking a prison and starting a new Guts Church campus at that prison. I don't mind. All it takes is a couple people. That's all it takes is a couple bulldogs. Somebody that's going to latch on and, got that slanted nose so that they could keep breathing and never let go. Man, their jaws lock on it. Those are the people I want to live my life with. Those people whose jaws lock on things and they're not going to let go. They could breathe because they got that funny nose. But what we've got to do is we've got to study the Word and get to know God at a greater level. That's how we grow. Now, we got to study the Word. It's not just reading it once in a while. Now, we got to study it. Man, I'm so thankful that the Word's sown in my heart that, man, I can get up and say, man, God's got a place for you. Because here's what the Word says. This life doesn't work without a constant stream of God's Word into our lives. And I'll tell you why. It's similar, the type and shadow of His Word is daily bread. It's like manna. See, remember when the children of Israel were in the wilderness and they got manna every day? They tried to store it up. They'd eat half that piece of manna and then they'd try to save it. And the next day it was spoiled. So you're thinking, man, yeah, I used to get in the Word a lot. No, you've got to get in the Word. You've got to read it. You've got to study it. You've got to digest it. You got to make sure that, man, it's impaled in your heart. Why? Because you've got emotions and you have fear and you have shame and you have anxiety and you have regret. I was in a meeting with Chano today. He said just a few years ago, it was drugs and pills. And he said it's kind of still pills, but he said now it's anxiety and depression. It's suicide. And I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking, yeah, if we fixate on something and think we've got we got the magic sauce. Man, all the devil's going to do is run a reverse. So, man, the devil runs a reverse against us. We have somebody that's staying home on that backside. 3 quick points before we go. Let me tell you about the other 3 Sundays. We got our 5th Sunday this Sunday. The next Sunday after that is our Easter rally, where everybody that's here, I'm going to rally you, and I want you to have to go to your car and pull the visor down and open up that mirror and look yourself in the eye and say, I'm going to fill God's house. Because Easter is an extraordinary opportunity for us to get people to church that wouldn't normally come. Man, it's Easter. They got to go somewhere. Man, let's get them in here. Then the next Sunday is our Barefoot Sunday. And I've already given loads, but I'm giving more shoes that Sunday. There's got to be thousands of pairs of shoes for it to have an impact. Can't be hundreds, can't be dozens, can't be hundreds, it's got to be thousands. It's going to help people. And I want every Friday morning, I want mamas and people to come in and be able to get and give shoes to their families. And then the 4th Sunday is Easter. And I'll tell you, we're going to be loaded for bear on Easter. We're going to do everything we can to give. We're going to throw the net up. We're going to give everything we can to give people the opportunity. Listen, this Easter, here's what's in my heart. Not just to teach these things so that it's taught, but that it's caught. And that's one of the 3 points that I want to close with tonight. That the purpose of our lives, and that's what this is tonight. I gave you those 4 points of that there's a purpose statement for a Coca-Cola bottling plant. It's got 17,000 employees. It's interesting because the guy said we had 6,000 employees, and then we instilled this purpose statement, and we have 17,000 now. He said there's no way we could have handled that growth without those 4 simple purposes. So number 1, purpose is culture. And let me tell you, culture wins every time. Culture eats strategy. Culture eats vision. Culture beats them all. Culture, culture, culture. Man, Duke basketball, Alabama football, the New England Patriots. What I see just secondhand, just with press as my son-in-law, the Philadelphia Eagles are building a culture. People want to come back and play there. People want to celebrate what they're doing. I mean, I've seen that in our church, the culture of this church. Man, the devil's lying to people. People have been a part of the church, and then they kind of stumble and maybe get into sin, or they stray a little bit, and they think, I can't go back. It's too embarrassing. No, you got to come back. Find your way home. Man, can you guys believe God with me that we'll help people find their way home? Can you believe God with that? Because it matters to me that this church grows. It may not be anybody else, but it matters to me. You know why? I'm going to stand before God, and I'm going to make account for my life. I'm going to make account for my words. I'm going to make account for what I've taught at church, and I believe I'm going to make account for what happens in this church. And I'll just be real honest with you. In the last couple weeks, I have asked God to forgive me, and I've repented of tolerating things that aren't excellence. So I've been a bear. I mean, I'm not even making eye contact with Sandy or Taylor or the staff right now, because I've been a bear to live with. Because I'm realizing how much I'm just tolerating. Man, let's stop. Let's not. We can't tolerate anything below excellence. Will you agree with me on that? So purpose is culture. Number 2, this has to be consistently lived. And there's some days I don't feel like it. I really don't. And the third thing is it's got to be caught rather than taught. And you know what? I believe there's been diving catches in the discipling of my life. I made a diving catch. I've made one-handed catches. And I believe if we give our best effort, that's within our reach. We can be who God's called us to be. You agree with me? I believe it was worth your time to come. Just for me to give you vision for the next 4 Sundays. Let's not just mail it in. You hear me? Man, let's let Tulsa and Skytook and Sapulpa and the people online, let's let them feel Guts Church. You want to? Man, let's leave a mark. Let's let them feel Guts Church.